The topic of today's session is Advancing Gender-Based Violence Services Through Evidence, a research-led, holistic, culturally competent, promising practice model for immigrant women and families. And our speaker today will be Ivana Kalina. So Ivana is the coordinator of the Gender-Based Violence Promising Practice Project at the Canadian Immigrant Women's Association, CIWA. She brings nearly 25 years of professional experience, beginning in education and later in the human services sector. Her work is guided by knowledge, pedagogical leadership, and the virtues of humility, compassion, care, and kindness. Currently, Ivana's leadership focuses on advancing resources for immigrant women and their families, with a strong belief that effective cross-sector collaboration is key to meaningful impact. She's looking forward to presenting to this community today. And without further ado, please welcome Ivana. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here and to acknowledge that the format of this delivery is going to be over a lunchtime, and I'm kind of looking forward to present about this particular model to all of you. Let me just provide a visual for all of you, hoping that your day is going well and that your lunch is going to be present. So my preference, not just my preference, generally during the presentation, if you have any questions, you can just raise your hand and ask it immediately, or you can write it down and with the host kind of put it in the chat box so we can answer it later. But I hope to provide a clear, concise and information that will be very much appreciated and used in our sector. So let me just put in a presentation mode. And as our host already announced, this is the name of the presentation today. To give you the overview of what we're going to be talking about, I'll give you the little context of the organization that I'm coming from, because so many big changes happened very recently. So I would like to kind of announce on this platform that as well. And then give you the overview of the project that is called Uncovering Promising Project that we have here that advanced this kind of promising practice model that I'm going to be talking about. And then we're going to dive into the details about that particular model and the implementation across the province. And of course, emphasize our experiences during this project because it's been on for almost 2 years. So we are wrapping up our activities at the end of March this year. So would like to do my land acknowledgement, in which we would like to say that in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live and work, and I would like to add play on the traditional lands of the Treaty 7 Nations, the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai, the Tsuut'ina Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda, Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney. We also recognize the Métis Nation of Alberta, District 5 and 6, and all the Indigenous peoples whose histories, languages, ceremonies, culture, that is a part of their culture, continue to shape this region. As an immigrant serving organization, we understand what it means to seek belonging on a land. We honor the original stewards of this place by learning from them, fostering respect, and contributing to a future built on reconciliation and shared community. So going forward, I would like to explain a little bit about the survey that we would like to encourage this community to embrace and to provide a feedback to us, because that will be very meaningful and valued. And we know how much knowledge and experience is with this group. So we would value your input, your comments, your suggestions, and everything. The survey is not very long. There is the option at the beginning to identify demographics of this group, to tell like what is your position, what is your name, what's your email. If you choose to complete the survey, we are gratefully offering the honorariums because our project is able to do that. So there is the QR code or the link that you can access this, and our host generously offered to copy and paste the QR code that's going to be in a chat box for you to access during the presentation. So you can kind of do it right now and then put your input during the presentation, or do it at the end when all the information and clarifications are done. So here we are. We are having a new name since recently, a couple of months ago, when we officially launched as the Canadian Immigrant Women's Association. Many of you know us as CIWA. We didn't change the acronym. The acronym is still the same. We are just extending our presence and collaborations across Canada at this point. So those are the three kind of, areas where we would like to expand. To be participating at the national conferences, to enhance our collaborations across Canada, and to be more visible. So we still have the same vision, mission, and values to empower immigrant women. That's our mandate, to enrich Canadian society. With a mission of becoming a national leader in transitioning immigrant women to success in Canada. And our identified values that we are aligning our work, interactions, everything that we do is the equity, excellence, collaboration, inclusiveness, and empowerment. So here is a little bit brief kind of context of what CIWA does at this point. Like, this is freshly made. So Canadian Immigrant Women's Association is a nationally recognized gender-focused organization serving immigrant women in all their diversity. And we always add their families, because we don't refuse the services. Our primary focus is women, but their families as well. CIWA was established in 1982. The other day we were just talking about how the 45 years is coming very soon of our existence. Our gender-specific mandate recognizes and responds to and focuses on the unique concerns and needs of immigrant and refugee women, girls, and their families. So a little bit of our client profile in 2024-25. This is the number that we have served. Those are the different languages that our clientele and individuals participating in our programs and our volunteer pool, they're speaking. And this is the 139 countries that our clients are coming from. So in terms of the 5 top countries of origin that we see the clientele coming from is the 10% Ukraine, 8% Afghanistan, 8% Eritrea, 7% India, and 6% China. And top 5 languages spoken by the clients is the Spanish is number 1, Ukrainian, Arabic, Tigrinya, and Mandarin. And these dots are kind of, following, size of the dots is following the amount. So these are the core service areas that we're providing. So we call it departments. So there's the services under settlement and integration, language training and childcare, employment training and bridging, family services, and well-being and resiliency. So the well-being and resiliency is in gray. It's not the gray area. I just kind of emphasize that because this project is under that department. So we're coming from well-being and resiliency department that is providing services to support our immigrant clientele with the mental health and addiction services and the gender-based violence services as well as a response and prevention at the same time. So this is the name of our project that I'm going to give you a little overview about. It's called Uncovering Promising Futures Project. As I said, we're going to have in details the presentation about the promising practice model today. So the project description is in very briefly described here. So we the project focused on developing and implementing a culturally competent, responsive, and evidence-based gender-based violence prevention and support model. And that model is to strengthen the gender-based violence sector, to address the intersectional needs of the target population and build capacity of other agencies to address significant gaps in services, because part of our project was focusing on piloting our services across Alberta as well and recruiting clients. So the first bullet point is like the looking into the settlement services being enhanced and complemented by the supportive counseling services to address the social emotional needs of our clientele. Intersectional needs of the target population, we know how paying attention to that is really essential in providing our services, as they're stemming from our clientele social identities as gender, race, class, education, marital status, and on and on. And we are implementing trauma-informed approach to address those intersectional needs. And the project promising practice model is evaluated at this point. So we received the final evaluation that we're going to be talking toward the end of the presentation. So this is the background information for you to know how these promising practices become to exist. So they are being present within CIWA. They're being delivered for over 3 decades of practice through the the different kind of programs. So the impetus for developing the family conflict prevention program, Project Logic model, it is CIWA's desire to avoid occurrence and reoccurrence of the increasing conflict within all the issues that the families were facing when they were trying to resettle in the new culture. And the program was trying to address the stress factors to place immigrants, refugee, and racialized women at the risk of occurring and reoccurring these instances of domestic violence, gender-based violence, intimate partner violence as well. Then the need to increase access and supports to enable immigrant, refugee, and racialized women and their families to have the appropriate resources and to use it to kind of meet their needs independently. So this particular program with their project module is the base that we used to look in details, to research and to choose the strategies and the approaches that we would like to strengthen, to standardize for the promising practice model. So there are a couple of stages that the project was going through for this last 2 years. So the first stage was just reviewing that Project Logic model from the Family Conflict Prevention Program. Then collectively with like interviewing the program providers, like our counselors and the staff that was delivering the services under that program, to tell us about the effectiveness and to assess the effectiveness of the strategies, of the approaches. And then after that conversation and doing the focus group, we with the team, we worked on standardizing all the processes and practices, and then to pilot these standard practices and the model to 75 immigrant women in Calgary. Then we finished stage 2 as well at this point, and almost done with the stage 4. In stage 2, we looked into topping with the prevention part of the promising practice model, and gathered the community leaders from different ethnic communities to do the dialogue about the healthy relationships and the issues that they are seeing in their communities related to the gender-based violence. Then we looked into how to modify the model for online delivery to enhance actually that access to the clients. And after that, we piloted the modified promising practice model for immigrant women in Alberta. And we did not have the restrictions to the immigration status as well. The access was enhanced by this service being free as well. So the stage 3 that we are kind of in a phase of completing right now is the stakeholder engagement. So we definitely appreciate this opportunity of having all this network present today for the presentation of the model, and to be engaged through this survey that we offered at the beginning as well. We engaged with the external evaluator to analyze all the data collected through the project and to to complete the final evaluation that was released at the end of the last year. So knowledge sharing part is actively what we're focusing on at this point, and producing these tutorials that would inform the policymakers, organizations, everybody who is researchers who is interested in this particularly evidence-based promising practice model. So this is the components of the promising practice model, so that we have 4 clearly identified as the supportive counseling, and supportive counseling being offered very flexibly in person, online, and to all immigration status. So we were very fortunate to have the funding actually not to restrict who can access these services. And it was during this a limited period of time that project was on, we had the clients from across Alberta. So the second component is the assessment tools and processes, in which we kind of collaborated very closely with the project team and with the staff who already implemented the family conflict prevention program, the services, to help us to assess the effectiveness of the assessment tools, and to point out, what is the important when they were administered with the clientele. Then we looked into protocols and guidelines, and referral and follow-up framework. So those are the 4 components that in which each of these components we're going to provide more details going forward in the presentation. So the first one to address is the supportive counseling. So the supportive counseling is the head at some moment of looking closely into the processes and the standardization of the process during the supportive counseling. We identified the need to develop a vision, and then we looked into mainstreaming the intake process to kind of map it down for everybody to be guided by that. So we looked as well as identifying specific approaches and strategies that our counselors are putting in place for the success of supporting services offered to the clients. And then another thing that was pointed out by our counselors is that the standardization of the case note taking and the training for that, the need for that was emphasized. So then the supportive counseling had this a kind of mapping of having a vision, the intake process mapped, approaches and strategy identified and defined, and having a standard template for the case note taking that was inputted later in a client management system. So here is just to emphasize a couple of things that we are proudly putting in our vision for everybody to be guided by, is that at first we always kind of point out the cultural sensitivity, responsiveness, and the competency that we are trying to embed that approach in everything that we do with the clients. Another one is we are so committed to creating a safe and non-judgmental space for our clients to experience our services, and we are proudly prioritize flexibility, respect, and building of trust with each of our clients. So toward the end, in our commitment to culture responsive care, we really strive to honor diverse backgrounds and experiences of each of the individuals accessing our services. And with that, we are ensuring that our counseling practices are relevant for each of these individuals. They're holistic in nature, and they're accessible to all women that we serve. So the counseling sessions, to give you the overview how that works in practice, is that we are trying to address the language barriers, and we're familiar in this group of professionals that might be a huge barrier. So many languages is offered through our counselors and case managers, and the services that is offered under this promising practice model occasionally, according to the need, is offered in a client's first language. So accessibility is addressed by offering free sessions, like having the funding for to be able to do that, being flexible about the offering it in person, online, off-site availability, because of all the factors that might impact the services. We try to address that to kind of be flexible in this area because of the weather, of the number of children, of the time commitment that the client needs to have for to receive the services. And then as well, we offer these supportive services in a childcare when they attend these sessions, and when they are in person, we provide occasional childcare in collaboration with our childcare department. We provided the free tickets for the transportation, especially for the newcomers who just arrived to Calgary and they don't know how everything functions about the transit. And then we are reaching out to our pool of volunteers, interpreters who are engaging to support us through the interpretation support for the clients. And then we addressing family needs by providing individual counseling, family counseling. We even had a whole family in one of the counseling sessions in which the kind of, the counselor was trying to organize everything in a very flexible and very appropriate way for the whole family to participate in that. And that was not just one example that I heard about. And then another very, very highly needed is the couples counseling service. So we have a specifically developed process of how we address the needs of couples who are reaching out for counseling support. Flexibility is addressed by offering 6 to 10 sessions. It can be under 6, it can be over 10, of course, because we are trying to be as much as possible flexible with our clients. And here is what we consider as that is available. The eligibility is for youth 15 plus, adults and elder support at the same time. Confidentiality is always ensured, and the limitation for confidentiality is communicated with the clients. So these are the identified particular approaches and strategies that we're using in our practice. So, for example, building trust demonstrated by encouraging care, compassion, effective communication, competency in all interactions. The quality of the relationship, usually with the clients, we know that affects the outcome of the service. The more open, respectful, and collaborative approach, the better kind of, trust that we build with the client, and the encouragement of the openness and sharing some of the very important stuff to work on, and for the client to feel comfortable about that. So with the respect, that is embedded in all the interactions with the clients as well, by listening attentively, validating clients' feelings, maintaining confidentiality at all times, avoiding imposition of counselors' own suggestions or the solutions, and onboarding the individuals and clients to kind of collaboratively make their own goals and work toward that, and to be proud of their progress that they're making. Flexibility, respecting individual pace and readiness, creating a safe and supportive environment that promotes reflection, sharing, healing, and growth. So about the culturally sensitive approach, we definitely realize how important that is. So we approach each client with a purposeful curiosity, like with a calm kind of demeanor, with humility and understanding, acknowledging and respecting clients' cultural backgrounds, beliefs, their values that they hold, identifying which of these are the strength of the clients to address the risk factors, for example, during the process. So all of that is in hands of our supportive counseling counselors. Cultural sensitivity includes understanding various cultural and religious contexts to assist in gaining a comprehensive understanding of a person's situation. It involves appreciation of the immigration experience that is associated with the potentially experiences of racism, cultural shock, isolation, language barriers, trauma. It's just naming few of the issues that our counselors are facing, and how they consistently implement the culture sensitive assessment and the approach during the services. Of course, the rest of them are self-explanatory. The last one, the trauma informed, for example, is that we are trying to provide the space, interactions, the kind of demeanor that the counselors are bringing into the section to avoid any of the possible triggers of the potentially present trauma in the clients. So many immigrants, refugees have the traumatic experience before they came to Canada or during their immigration journey, so or afterwards when they are trying to adopt and to settle in a new culture. So our counselors with the services are very highly aware of that and applying that approach consistently. So another area in this model is the intake process, as we realize that mapping the intake process in interconnectedness of all these elements of the intake process is mapped here just to show with these arrows that any direction is possible. So when we have the external referrals, we do intake and needs assessment in a very culturally sensitive way with the clients, and that is the process when our staff start building a relationship with the clients. With the internal referrals in the house, like from one department to another, because the intake is already done, we're moving into the updating of the needs assessment. Or because the demographics, the language, and everything else, the family information is already available. And then we can go any other direction, like connecting the clients. If by the needs assessment something is identified, our counselors are connecting clients with the community resources that are very appropriate and needed for that particular client. Then counselors are doing assessment tools and processes that are put in place, and we're going to talk about these particular assessment tools that is used in this model. And then the client is starting with the counseling sessions, and according to their needs, it's always that is first priority of the counselors to identify if the client is maybe for the hybrid option, or they would like to do that in person. Do they have the childcare needs as the supporting services to be engaged, or they don't? And like all that kind of is identified at the beginning to support fully a client. So here is the standardization that was done about the case notes procedure and the training. So we had a standardized template to include presenting issues that usually this is done kind of, at each of the sessions, but the presenting issues might be changing, of course, as we know, like as the settlement workers in this group or the counselors, that they are changing from one a session to another, identifying clients' goals, main points, and the next step planned. So we learned what kind of language, how we kind of back up with incorporating exactly the facts from the session, to stay objective, to just inform, and to capture the details from the session, to connect one session to another, and to remind our counselors as well what was specifically was achieved or talked about or discussed in the previous session. In-house training is available to ensure the note-taking is aligned with the best practices and making sure that the best and ethical practices are upheld at all times. Because of many of our clients are involved in the court system with the court documents being in place, and these case notes potentially can be subpoenaed to the court. So here is the little visual of how the template looks like. And as the guide, as I said to our counselors, because this is like paragraphs of this information is inputted in our case management system. So as I was talking before, the assessment tools are identified here that were used originally by the Family Conflict Prevention Program and were adopted from that program to be used under this model. So the intake form is the one that can be done digitally, like online or in person. The needs assessment are looking into the basic needs of the client, employment, family needs, social, emotional, and language. The risk and protective factors are identifying on the measuring scale. The strength-based approach is implemented here, in which we encourage the clients to engage in this conversation about what are the risk and protective factors present with that particular client and how to identify the strengths within the client that they can address the risk factors at this point present in their lives. And there is a safety plan guidelines, and we don't have a safety plan form. We intentionally, through the experience and the research of this project, identified through the focus groups that the safety plan guidelines is more useful to guide the counselors, because each of these safety plans are very unique for that particular case and situation of the client. So in a safety plan, we're going to talk about a little bit more in details about the safety plan details and guidelines, but we have another feedback that we are collecting for the clients that is called client outcome rating scale. So we are with this collection of the client feedback, we make sure that the client independently assess their progress and increase their awareness about the particular items that we are measuring. So, for example, to evaluate if they know about the family-related laws in Canada, evaluate if the clients knows about their rights in Canada as well. So these two items that we are evaluating within the clients, ensuring that the assessment and feedback tools are culturally responsive. So the tool during our project, we reach out to collaborate with the training and translation training for the immigrants enrolled in that training in the other department, and we translated this particular tool in 9 different languages in collaboration with that program in CIWA as well. So here are the details about the safety and action plan. So depending on the client's situation, the professional, the counselor is looking into these areas that are to be able to prioritize which of these apply to that particular client, and then work in assessing safety within the home. So what to do when they are leaving in an emergency, how to maintain the emotional safety throughout the whole process of experiencing domestic violence or intimate partner violence, what to do about the cyber safety, technological and social media safety. As well as we realize the importance of being aware of the specific points about the safety in the neighborhood when they are moving through the neighborhood, and then when they are reaching their workplace, if the client is employed, of course, and coming back home. So how to be aware of what they need to pay attention to and how to maintain their safety through all of these situations. So planning forward when when our counselors are looking into the client is showing signs of progress or being ready to move on, like to use the resources independently and to gain enough coping skills like for their situation, then they are together with the client planning forward. The assessment tool findings are used during this period, and the client-centered approach to proactively engage a client in creating forward plan based on their specific circumstance or the needs. So the plan might evolve depending on change in clients' needs, and our counselors are very skilled in addressing those changes. So we are here in the protocol and guidelines, and as we are kind of, had this period of 2 years, we were able to identify the new needs as well. So here is what we had from the previous program, the assisting clients in need of emergency shelter during the work hours, because we are not like a crisis response organization. So we have the official hours that we are open, but the previous program identified the needs that sometimes we have a walk-in client who is in need of being placed in the emergency shelter. And then we identified the steps to guide our counselors what to do, how to support the client in the best way about that. There is the connecting clients at the same time of that, maybe identified needs to have the crisis response programs and services in place. So how to communicate and share that. We were able to compile the numbers, the email, the kind of, the web pages information in a document that we call asset map, and that can be updated regularly and checked if these programs and services are still in place. And the emergency situation protocol would address another situation of our counselors facing as they establish the trust with the clients. Sometimes clients in a crisis situation, in an escalated conflict in a home, they call them directly instead of calling the emergency services, because that trust is there. So our counselors having this protocol to guide them through providing the best support during that situation. The newest protocol that we responded to the need at some point in the project is the protocol for the after-hours crisis response that is like newly developed and just pending approval at this point. So here is the referral and follow-up framework. So the the referral and follow-up framework, we definitely identified that that framework needs to be in place to support fully the clients of using the resources learning about the resources that are available, assessing if that particular resource will meet their needs, and then planning with the counselor of how to approach, how to be successful in using that resource. Following up kind of, step was identified with the counselor in which they need to follow up if it's needed, of course, and check on the success, if the client reached out, if they were successful reaching out, identifying if that was not successful, what was the barrier, and how the counselor can help them to reduce or remove the barrier and be successful maybe next time. So the last one, empowering clients, that part is emphasizing the client's control in this referral process and offer choices and information to help them make informed decisions. So that helps clients overcome barriers to access services such as community-based services that would match, meeting their needs. So Here's the part about how we supported when in a phase of the project that we needed to offer the counseling online. So we looked into how to support, what features we need to support the online counseling. So the web page safe exit button was added, Calendly platform was launched, and then our counselors got their accounts and started using the Calendly for booking appointment with the clients. So a couple of months after implementing the Calendly platform, we reached out to the counselors to assess the usage, to what features were most useful, how the clients are feeling about using Calendly, and on and on. So we kind of summarized that, and going forward, realize the benefits of using the Calendly in the booking the counseling appointments. And we developed as well the consent for online counseling. And that is the newly developed document under this promising practice model, and which is aligned with the best practices. And those best practices were identified when with the support of the practicum student during this process and the project, in which the literature review was completed about the best practices in online counseling. And then that literature review document was compared with our practice and experiences with our family counselor when that model was implemented in 2 of our pilots. And when some gaps were identified, and then we developed our consent form for online counseling that was implemented from now on with the clients to address, to incorporate all the best practices in that document for the clients to sign before they enter into the online counseling. So we're having the referral and follow-up framework. So the framework, this framework is consistently implemented for the internal and the external referrals. So for the internal that are coming from the different departments within the CIWA, and that warm referral in which the client is holistically supported with the counselor during that period of reaching out and being successful in reaching out for the community resources, is implemented for the external referrals as well. So in some of our presentations in the past, we were asked about the professional background of our staff that are providing this model to the clients. And then we identify that as well as the first one. Our counselors are having a professional certifications education in psychology and social work. And then we developed a professional development framework of the number of hours, suggested courses that are relevant and related to the practice and the delivery service model that we're providing for the client. And the third step was identifying the mandatory training sessions that are needed for our counselors to have that capacity in place. So this slide, it's saying about the additional services available. So these are not the services that are coming under the promising practice model, but we have other programs that those are available for the clients to register for as they are attending the supportive counseling sessions, the educational workshops as the preventive area in which they are learning a little bit more about the different topics is available for clients as well. We're in a process of, together with our practicum students and other team members, in developing a standardized content for all of these educational workshops, and to look into how to how to enhance the access for our clients as well. So we're looking into the ways of how to do that at this point. And we have support groups available. So if any of our clients are receiving the supportive counseling services, they would like to additionally enter the support group to build their supports, peer support, to kind of, stay connected to then these group interventions or group support is available with occasionally need to be facilitated in different languages, and we meet that need as well. So we look into the optimal number for these groups being 8 to 12 participants, and the optimal number of sessions being 6 to 8. So the as we mentioned before, as the flexibility being one of the approaches that is really effective, we look into offering different locations, flexible hours, and support groups for men and women. So another resource that is not under this model, but our counselors and the staff is using. So this is called Mindfulness Hut. So this particular resource was developed through different mental health support projects that were finished at CIWA before. Approximately 2 years ago. So this particular resource is present on 2 floors in CIWA and is available with no charge to all of our registered clients and our staff as well. So they have the massage chair or a reclining chair, and we have in collaboration with one of our partners, we have different videos that will teach some of the mindfulness practices when you use these sessions. So you're sitting in a massage chair or a reclining chair, and then the video is playing on three walls in front of the client or the staff, and talks about the different skills that you gain through listening to the voice and just following that and practicing. So we enhance the space with offering, like, the essential oil diffuser for the clients. It's optional to use the yoga mat or the ball chair for if they want to stretch, and we are encouraging all of our clients and staff to follow the booking system that we developed at this point of having a session for half an hour or depending, sometimes an hour, and how it's booked, how it's used. And we, of course, we have a liability form in each of these rooms to be signed for independent use of our clients. We added recently the feedback, so we are trying to collect how this resource is useful and beneficial for our clients and staff as well. So after the first pilot that we implemented for 75 immigrant women, we worked on collecting data about, to implement the evaluation form with all of our clients who entered our services. And here, in a short and concise way, we summarized that the baseline evaluation report. So the overall baseline evaluation report pointed out a couple of these circles that it said that overall strong sense of autonomy and inclusion is reported by the participants. So we want to say that at that point, the rate of response was the 50% of how many of the evaluation surveys were sent to the clients and how many clients responded and completed them. So the 100% of the clients agreed how the registration for the counseling and the receiving the services from this model was very easy, that the services were culturally safe, flexible, for scheduling was flexible, and how they developed trust in services. 100% of them pointed out that they felt empowered throughout the process. They felt supported as well, and they felt well informed about the resources available for them. 95% learn about protective factors and how to build on them, and 100% reported improved coping skills and customized counseling. throughout the process. So this is the summary of the baseline evaluation support. And as well, at that point, we had some insights and recommendations that we received, and we try to address going forward. So the key insight was that the participant reported a high overall satisfaction with cultural safety, flexibility, and emotional support. They felt services were empowering, and they reported access and barrier-related questions, so they required further exploration. So these were the key insights that we got from the baseline evaluation. And then based on these, we got the recommendations to continue prioritizing culturally responsive and trauma-informed practices, investigate service access barriers in more details, and we revised our evaluation form going forward to kind of base it on that, to include that input, complement surveys with interviews and focus groups, and that was done later with our external evaluators, and utilize the baseline as benchmark for final evaluation and comparison. So these insights and recommendations were from the baseline evaluation support. And then recently we received the final evaluation support. So with the final evaluation support, these are the areas that we summarized, what was suggested, what was summarized, what was the strength of the model, and what was like the suggestions for improvement as well. So in short here, the effective model implementation at CIWA area says that Uncovering Promising Future project is implemented as designed, that tools are integrated smoothly into counseling practice. External agency implementation was not being able to assess at that point. And we did many presentations, and that's going to be mentioned later, but we did not have enough data to kind of, for the external agency implementation to be assessed. Then core tools performed strongly area are saying about the risk and protective factor tool that we indicated before and talked in details, that tool supports structured, culturally responsive, and trauma-informed conversations during these sessions, and no refinement identified through this evaluation. So about the client outcome rating scale, the tool that I kind of presented before is about collecting clients' feedback independently. So that one, it says that this captures client well-being, safety, and the progress, and increases their awareness about the progress as well. And it's easily understood and meaningfully completed throughout the sessions. So the client outcome rating scales, we have a pre and post. And occasionally, when the huge progress is identified, then the counselor can decide to implement this tool earlier than more than just pre and post. So Uncovering Promising Futures evaluation of implementation and tools. And that was one area. And the second one is client experiences and early outcomes. So about the positive client experiences, we have that strong culture of safety, non-judgmental support is provided, high trust and rapport with counselors is reported, emotional clarity, validation, and hope the clients reported that was increased. Practical relevance to daily decisions making and coping, and about the area of early outcomes for women, it says that improved emotional well-being and calm was reported, increased confidence, strength, and resilience throughout the process of receiving services, greater awareness of community supports available, enhanced coping and emotional regulation. So there is the third area of community engagement and readiness for scale-up. So the provincial engagement was saying about the 13 different presentations delivered across Alberta about this particular model. And that showed strong interest from immigrants serving gender-based violence in the shelter sector, and reported high relevance for multilingual, rural, and culturally responsive context. Readiness for scale up, the strength is that it has effective validated tools, strong client satisfaction and early outcomes, and trauma-informed, culturally responsive practice in place. The next steps is pilot implementation with the external agencies, develop uptake and fidelity tracking. So those are the kind of, the next step recommended by the evaluation, and strengthen follow-up and adaptation pathways. So through all of that, recently we engaged in a process of through providing honorariums for our clients who were engaged in the process, making significant progress, and being willing to kind of support themselves and our project in implementing some of the strategies and learnings that they've been offered throughout the receiving services. We started collecting these testimonies. So we are in a process of getting the permission and the approval by the clients, but this is one that we recently got the approval, and we would like to share with this group about the this was actually an email after the services were started with the counselor, and it says thank you so much for creating such a safe, compassionate space for me to share my concerns. I truly appreciate your kindness, patience, and genuine care you showed through the session. Our conversation meant more to me than I can fully express. Being able to openly talk about difficult emotions and challenges made me feel heard, supported, and less alone. Your guidance gave me reassurance and hope, and I'm very grateful for your support during this time in my life. Thank you for sharing information about the other resources I need. I appreciate the encouragement and opportunities you mentioned, and I will be sure to follow up as discussed. So the family counselor and myself, we chose this one because it's just comprehensively says about what everything that I was offering to you through this information about the promising practice model. Let's just summarize it in one email from the client. So here is with thanks for your attention, to using your lunch to listen about our model. We would like to kind of communicate the web page information, how you can explore our model. That is the link that will take you to there to look in details about the model, and to kind of open the floor at this point for any questions, comments, and of course to use a second to encourage you to do the survey that we mentioned before, and as the QR code is in a chat box for you to access that.
Thank you so much, Ivana. That was a very comprehensive run through. Thank you so much. Okay, folks, you heard it. It's time for the questions. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand so we can pick you in the order you raised it. Or if you prefer to type it in the chat, I am monitoring the chat, so please go ahead.
So talking about the survey that I mentioned, and then the QR code is here. If you want to stay in touch with us, if you're curious about some details, we mentioned, as I emphasized at the beginning, that your name or a title and everything that we ask in a survey is optional. But if you want to stay in touch with us and have a kind of separate meeting, that is necessary, as well as if you fill out the survey, and we are awarding honorariums for your organization, then of course your contact information is needed at that point. So we'll appreciate that.
So I do have one question, so perhaps I could start us off.
Mhm.
You mentioned that this project is currently in stage 3 and you're actively in the knowledge sharing phase. I was curious if you what's next after stage 3? What is the outlook for this project?
So that's a very good question, because we, as I said, like the last stage of the project, will be having produced these tutorials that can be accessed. It's going to be on our web page. And these tutorials we're in a planning stage right now, no, more into executing. So we're going to kind of, produce this to inform in details about like how this model can be implemented in different communities and for different agencies. And as we gain some very good experience and the knowledge during these 2 years, we would be able to provide supports for the agencies who are using this model in a very comprehensive and hands-on and practical way, depending on what they need. So that's a part of our survey as well. So we would hope, like at this point, that the results that we have, the model that we right now we call evidence-based, will attract more funding in the future, and to build on what we have at this point.
Amazing. Sounds great. Thank you. All right. Do we have any questions, please? Just double check the chat. Okay. Well, I guess it was very comprehensive and we don't have any questions. Okay. Well, thank you all very much for attending today's Lunch and Learn. I guess we do have some time to give you back for your lunch. Please remember that the poll is in the QR code for the survey is in the chat. So please oblige friends from CIWA by taking that survey. And of course, we hope to see you again next time at our next Lunch and Learn. Thank you all very much and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ivana, for a wonderful presentation today. Much appreciated.